It was the letter he wrote to me. I really felt like he understood the book and the characters and wanted to do the subject matter justice. And so it felt right giving it to him. And yeah, so I think he did a great job. I wasn't super involved. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to take any credit. I was on set for about 1 to 2 weeks. I think in the beginning,
if you thought the legal settlement between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni meant the It Ends With Us drama was finally laid to rest, think again. From leaked text messages that expose what Blake really thought about author Colleen Hoover to production audio that caught her legal team in a massive lie, the curtain has been pulled back completely. Among the freshly leaked court documents is a text exchange from May 19, 2024, between Blake Lively and her co-star Jenny Slate. Slate messages Lively, praising her performance as next level and asking for validation about her own appearance on screen. "Do I legit look like the get-off-my-train guy from Ghost?" Blake immediately fires back with maximum intensity. "You are shot through the heart, stunning. Whoever I'm watching with audibly cusses because you are so divine." But the sweet talk quickly soured when the conversation turned to the mastermind behind the entire franchise, author Colleen Hoover. Slate casually drops a question into the text chain, asking if she had done something to upset the author. "Colleen seemed a bit frosty to me. Did I do something to upset her?" Blake's response? "That's her personality, which is why I was always so disconnected from her and spooked by her." To the casual observer, it's a minor snub. To Hollywood insiders, it's an absolute bombshell. Blake goes on to claim that Hoover was nervous to be at events because she feared Justin Baldoni and his team would be upset that she invited Blake's faction. Yet, flash forward to the current timeline and the fallout speaks for itself. Colleen Hoover has completely wiped every single photo of Blake Lively from her Instagram account. Jenny Slate has done the same. The circle of trust didn't just break, it evaporated. If Blake thought her creative spin was going to save her narrative, she underestimated the power of actual audio recordings. We have all had that sinking feeling where we confidently state a fact, only to realize a second later that someone has the receipts to prove us entirely wrong. Blake Lively's legal team experienced that on a global, multi-million-dollar scale. In Lively's initial formal complaint against Justin Baldoni, her lawyers laid out a devastating allegation involving a montage scene. The complaint stated that during a slow dance scene where no sound was being recorded, Baldoni chose to let the camera roll, stepped out of character, leaned into her neck, and inappropriately whispered, "It smells so good." Without audio, it was a classic scenario, a nightmare for any production. There was only one problem. Baldoni kept the dailies, and the microphones were absolutely live. When Baldoni's legal team released the actual raw production audio, the truth sounded entirely different. The audio captured Baldoni explicitly communicating his directorial intent to Blake before the camera rolled, saying, "I'm going to take my hat off, and then I'm going to lean in and try to kiss you." Blake's recorded response on the tape was, "Okay, fine." The absolute whiplash from Blake's legal team was staggering. Once the audio leaked, they were forced to scramble and submit a second amended complaint. The new version awkwardly backpedaled, changing the narrative from no sound was recorded to none of the sound recorded was meant to be used in the final film. It was a linguistic gymnastics routine that fooled no one. The judge overseeing the case ultimately dismissed the allegations, famously ruling that while such behavior might cause an issue on a literal factory floor, in a film where two actors are explicitly hired to portray a deeply intimate romance, communicating and executing a romantic scene is quite literally the job description. This brings up a massive lesson in modern reputation management. The public can forgive a creative dispute, but they rarely forgive a calculated distortion of the truth. And as the public began to realize the extent of the legal backtracking, the financial backlash moved with terrifying speed. You won't believe where Blake's luxury products ended up and what retail workers are doing to hide her face. Before this legal warfare went public, Ryan famously built and sold aviation gin for $610 million and Mint Mobile to T-Mobile for a staggering $1.35 billion. Blake's highly anticipated hair care line, Blake Brown Beauty, was projected to be Target's largest and most successful hair product launch of 2024, tracking toward a massive $100 million brand valuation. Then, the internet went to work. According to financial data published by INC.com, sales for Blake Brown plunged by an astronomical 87% almost instantly. A brand forecasted to be worth 9 figures was suddenly revalued at a mere $15 million. Even Ryan Reynolds' brands felt the heat, experiencing weakened sales and forcing corporate partners to quietly pull ongoing marketing campaigns. Lively's legal team eventually claimed a jaw-dropping $300 million in total reputational damages. The ultimate indignity, however, isn't found in a corporate spreadsheet. It's found on the bottom shelf of a local Target in Maryland. Viewers have begun sending in photos of Blake Brown products sitting in the clearance aisle, aggressively marked down to just $4.24. But the wildest detail? The red clearance barcodes aren't just placed anywhere. Retail workers are actively sticking the labels directly over Blake Lively's face and name on the packaging. Retailers aren't just trying to liquidate the inventory, they are trying to remove the association entirely. When your PR team tries to spin a total disaster into a triumph, the internet will always be there to provide a reality check. Following the settlement, a comprehensive breakdown on the It Ends With Us Reddit thread went viral, methodically listing the 50 undeniable losses Blake Lively sustained throughout this legal saga. When you look at the raw data, it becomes impossible to see how anyone could call this a win. The social consequences followed immediately. Supermodel Gigi Hadid quietly distanced herself, noticeably omitting Blake from her high-profile 30th birthday celebrations. So, how does a global superstar bounce back when the industry, the public, and the clearance aisles have all turned their backs? Reputation is no longer a luxury asset that can be safely managed behind closed doors with a Rolodex of friendly journalists and a few expensive crisis PR firms. Blake Lively's legal team can spin the settlement as an astounding victory all they want, but a $4.24 clearance sticker tells a completely different story.